Rand Paul gets laughed off the stage by the View crowd. Our audience says that's not true. The View audience hooted and jeered Senator Rand Paul for attacking Senator Bernie Sanders and socialism in a contentious panel discussion.
We are back with Senator Rand Paul. Abby, you got a book out, The Case Against Socialism. Bernie Sanders is no longer alone on the debate stage. It seems like we're hearing more and more about socialism. In fact, 43% of Americans think it's a good thing. You are on the complete other end of that. Tell us about this book.
Well, one of the things we learned in writing the book is a lot of people say, well, we're not for Stalin, we're not for Hitler, we're for Scandinavia. So as we were researching the book, we actually found that Bernie Sanders' form of socialism actually is unpopular, and he would never get elected to anything in Denmark. In fact, the Prime Minister of Denmark, when he heard Bernie was going around saying they were socialists, says, no, we're not socialists. We have private property, a stock exchange, we have low corporate income taxes, we don't have a minimum wage. And the big difference, and this is where the big lie comes from, Bernie says we're going to give you all this free stuff, but we're only going to tax the rich people. In Scandinavia, they tax the working class 25% sales tax, and an income tax starting at $60,000 is 60%. So really the difference between their country and our country is they do have more free stuff in Scandinavia, but they pay for it with massive taxes on the working class and the middle class.
So we have massive taxes here, but we don't get any free stuff. We don't have free health care. Well, our public education system is a problem.
We have a different,
the only people that get free stuff are the very, very wealthy.
We have a different form of taxation in our country. Ours is much more progressive. So we've taken the poor off of the rolls. They don't pay income tax anymore. Most people below $50,000 don't pay any income tax. The top 1% in our country pay 40%.
Our audience says that's not true.
Well, the IRS statistics say that the top 1% in our country pay 40% of the income tax, and that those making less than $50,000.
Donald Trump doesn't pay any income tax.
Let me ask you this, because I live in Miami. There's tens of thousands of Venezuelan exiles living there. You talk a lot about Venezuela in your new book. I get a lot of political ads from the Republican Party. Donald Trump has tweeted this. Many have tweeted this. If you vote for Democrats, they will turn the United States into Venezuela. Do you think that's a fair statement to make?
Well, if you vote for a socialist, you might get socialism.
Come on, don't do that. Maduro is not a socialist. He's a corrupt, murderous thug who is starving his people.
That's not true.
That's not true? Maduro's not a thug and a murderer who's starving his people.
Let's have a conversation here. Chavez was a socialist, and socialism was the economic system of Venezuela.
It's a kleptocracy. It's not socialism.
But here's the question is, they voted for socialism. They voted for, let me finish.
No, I can't let you finish. If you're going to say Maduro's not a murderous thug, I'm not going to let you finish. That's a damn lie. And I've got a bunch of neighbors and friends who know this. Don't do this to me. Don't mansplain. I'm a 47-year-old girl.
Thanks to Senator Rand Paul. His new book is called The Case Against Socialism and will be...
The View audience hooted and jeered Senator Rand Paul for attacking Senator Bernie Sanders and socialism in a contentious panel discussion. The Kentucky Republican was promoting his new book, The Case Against Socialism, but he didn't find a receptive audience for his claims. Bernie Sanders' form of socialism is actually unpopular, and he would never get elected to anything in Denmark, Paul said. In fact, the Prime Minister of Denmark, when he heard Bernie was going around saying he's a socialist, he said, No, we're not socialists. We have private property, and we don't have a minimum wage. Paul argued that Scandinavian countries paid massive taxes to pay for free stuff that's given out by the government, and Hostin said Americans paid high taxes but had poor health care and public education. We have a different form of taxation in our country, Paul countered. It's much more progressive. We've taken the poor off of the rolls. They don't pay income tax anymore. Most people below 50,000 don't pay any income tax. The top 1% in our country pay 40%. The audience began laughing at the senator's claims, and Hostin called him out. Our audience says that's not true, she said, and the crowd continued laughing. Paul insisted that IRS statistics showed the top 1% paid a 40% income tax rate, and the laughter cascaded loudly over the GOP lawmaker. Donald Trump doesn't pay any income tax, Hostin said. Guest host Ana Navarro asked whether Paul agreed with the president that voting for Democrats would turn the U.S. into a Venezuela-style socialist country, and Paul didn't disagree. Well, if you vote for a socialist, you might get socialism, Paul said. Navarro erupted, arguing that President Nicolás Maduro Moros was a corrupt, murderous thug who is starving his people, but Paul said that's not true. That's not true. Navarro shot back. Maduro is not a thug and murderer who is starving his people. Paul gestured for her to calm down, and argued that Venezuelans had voted for socialism, but Navarro cut him off. That's kleptocracy, not socialism, Navarro said, as Paul objected. I can't let you finish if you're not going to say Maduro's a murderous thug. The audience went wild, and Paul turned his back to Navarro and waved his hands in her face. Don't do this to me, Navarro said, mimicking his gesture as audience continued cheering. Don't mansplain, I'm 47 years old.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget like and subscribe. Leave your comment for video. Thanks.